Hey, Live Together podcast. It's great to be with you again. It is week 2 of our 21 days of prayer and fasting. I know that probably the first week already has been a blessing for you, making room for your relationship with God. But this week, we're intentional about praying about relationships with our family, relationships with people outside of our family, and just building church relationship. I think that's important. If you look at Jesus walking around the earth as he was here, he built meaningful and intentional relationship with 12, came closer than ever, and out of the 11 out of the 12, they were called to ministry and became the biggest impact and the building block for what we have now today, church family. So we believe that relationships are important. Once you develop your relationship with God, God will lead you to relationship with other people so that you can go ahead and grow. So as we talk about that today and we pray about it through the week, we're challenged in seeing what our relationship look like. Maybe what are we doing to open space or create space for spiritual growth in church relationships that often requires intentional effort to deepen connections and bring purpose to daily routines. Here, we're going to talk about some thoughtful ways to make room for these relationships. But I want to start off with a Bible verse in Hebrews chapter 10, verses 24 and 25. It says this, "And let us consider one another in order to provoke love and good works, not neglecting to gather together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging each other, and all the more as you see the day approaching." I love that scripture tells us, hey, do not neglect the importance of relationship, because it can be a habit that we build out. It's easier to stay isolated and hunker down in our feelings and everything going on wrong in our life. But if we can step out of that box and allow ourselves to gather together and build meaningful relationships, we find that there's encouragement, there's support, there's strength that when you don't have it, that can help you as the day continues to approach what we're expecting when Jesus will return. But relationships here on earth will help us continue that walk. So we're going to go ahead and talk about specific ways to do that and what we must do to build those relationships. So the first thing we need to do, if you can do this week, attempt to start doing it this week. But number one thing you need to do is reflect on your current commitments. You got to think about, what am I doing now to build intentional relationships? You got to evaluate your schedule. Evaluate your priorities, and identify maybe activities or things that you could shift to free up time to go grab some coffee with someone, or maybe build your relationships in your home stronger. Maybe you're adding too much on your plate where your family's being affected. If you're a parent, affecting your relationship with your kids or even with your spouse. And sometimes just simplifying your routine can help create space for more fulfilling experiences. Just allowing yourself to be in a space of, hey, who am I going to connect with? Maybe I'll connect with relationships I've never had the opportunity to do so, but because I have the time now, let me send them a text, let me give them a call. What are they doing? Let's have some lunch and let's talk. And maybe that is the life-changing relationship you build out because you created a space for that. You committed to it. Another way is set aside a dedicated time each week for spiritual practices like prayer, meditation, or reflection, which can also enrich your relationships at home and church relationships. You can build that opportunity to pray with someone. Maybe even just send a once a week a text message to someone that you know and say, hey, what can I pray for you today? And you may think that they won't answer your text message. They'll leave you, I'd say, on read. Or maybe you'll get a whole essay of things that are going on in your life that you had no idea, and they trusted you with praying that. So dedicate time. Maybe even in the morning when you pray, or you're on your drive to work and you're just praying to God and you think about someone. That is an intentional way of caring for the relationships of the people that God has placed around you. So number one, you need to reflect on your current commitments. Another thing you can do and this is number 2, is engage actively in your church community. Attend services regularly. Go beyond just joining smaller groups, such as Bible studies or community service teams, where relationships are naturally deepened. I get the honor to serve as the connections pastor here at TC. So I'm going to plug in. Small groups are incredibly vital for your growth in your relationship with Jesus. And you say, why is this so vital? It's in those intentional, deep relationships and conversations that you develop to understand more of what God is calling you to do. Having conversations with other people, probably even connecting with someone else that has the same journey or are walking out the same thing you're walking out today. Or maybe you can be an encouragement for someone that some season that you walked out of, they're just going into, and you can give them the wisdom and the knowledge, or maybe just being with them and listening to them will be enough for them to find some peace, some joy, some hope in their life. And that's what small groups gives you the opportunity. I mean, Sundays are great. Attending Sundays, worshiping together, but in those quick seconds or quick minutes together, you don't really deepen any relationships or understand that. But in groups, you get to have conversations about the Bible and perspectives that are different, maybe from different sides of journeys, or just maybe someone new that needs to hear something deeper than what they just do not know at that moment. So actively building that space to connect with smaller groups gives you that understanding. I mean, Jesus had 12, right? He had masses of people. He preached to 3,000, not counting women and children on a mountain, but intentionally every single day he was with 12, talking and having conversations and battling with theology and all those thoughts and just spilling wisdom from heaven into their life. And that's what developed them to eventually lead the church and become pioneers of what God was calling for the church to be in this time in our life. And also actively participate in discussions, volunteer opportunities, and events. These can create bonds rooted in shared values and goals. So hey, maybe you're new to TC, or maybe you've been here for some time and you've always been on the fence to serve. Say, I don't know if I have time for that. That goes back to number 1. You got to reflect on your commitment that you have, your current commitments. Maybe you don't have time for that because you don't make time for it. And that could be the opportunity to create those relationships while serving. Maybe just being part of our welcome team and opening the door and smiling, and that smile just changed someone's life at that moment, and you connect, and you don't know if you just build a long-lasting relationship with someone just by holding the door and say, welcome to church. It's great to see you. Changes someone's life, and it probably changes yours, making that commitment. We're all called to something. I think that's sometimes we can think that, hey, I'm good just to go to church. I accepted Jesus. I can get by. Maybe the thought is, I can still get to heaven. If you accepted Jesus and you live your life in that acceptance of Jesus, then yeah, you can get to heaven. But do you just want to get by, or do you want to see the fulfillment of what God has called you to? Because I believe that, and I say it all the time, if you're breathing, if you're alive, if God's grace has covered you to wake you up another day, because the truth is, we don't wake up on our own. God allows us to wake up the next day. It's because we have a purpose and a calling over our life. Now, in deeper relationships is where you find that. In deeper relationships and committing to see that more clearly is where you find that. So actively participating in discussions and volunteer opportunities and just being around the church deeper will create bonds that will supersede all situations of life and all those things. Number 3 is embrace personal reflection. So you have to allocate time for personal spiritual practices that bring you peace and insight, which can prepare you to give more fully in church relationships or family relationships. You have to embrace it. I know it's hard to trust others when you've been hurt before. I know that it's difficult to it's easier to live in distrust than to trust other people when they've burned you, as they say, or they've said things against you, or they've hurt you and they never came back to apologize for it. But I think at one time I heard this: to be human and to live humanity out is knowing that you are called to trust and knowing that you will get hurt again. It's just a part of the process, the journey of trusting. But you grow from it, you develop it. You start understanding what relationships truly look like and what those, as they say nowadays, the red flags are, where I should create limits and boundaries. And through those situations, you learn that. And that's what relationships are all about. Hey, podcast family, we interrupt this episode just to give you some important information about our 21 days of prayer starting this Wednesday night. And for every Wednesday within the 21 days, we're going to meet together, and we ask that you gather your loved ones so that we can come together for family prayer night. It's going to be an incredible night to get together and lift our voices and pray together for what God is doing in the midst of our 21 days. We have our TC Youth leading us in worship. We have a 15-minute devotional, and for the remaining time between 7 and 8, we're going to pray together as a family. So we ask you do not miss this powerful midweek opportunity to recharge spiritually. We also ask you to mark your calendar for Friday, January 24th. It's going to be an unforgettable night of worship. So we're going to lift our voices in praises and encounter the presence of God together. So bring your friends and family as we have an evening of worship. And on Saturday, January 25th, we have the incredible opportunity to stream online in our TC Facebook page, our main Facebook page, of Family Communion. Wherever you are at, you can gather your family together and reflect and connect Christ's sacrifice and what God has done in your life through the 21 days. This will be an incredible way to end your 21 days of prayer. These communion items will be available right after both of our services on the 19th. Will also be available on our final Wednesday family prayer night on the 22nd, and also on our night of worship on the 24th. So you go ahead and pick them up in the lobby. This will be a great way to end our 21 days of prayer. Let's make room together. Now let's head back to our podcast. About in the workout world, they call this thing for you to grow your muscles, they call this thing time under tension. It's the thought of the more tension you pushed on your muscles, the more they grow. So the weight has to grow more, right? There's fear of going a greater weight because you don't know if you can handle it. But that time under tension provides the opportunity to see the difference in your life. The same way we live our life with our relationships today. That tension of, are they going to hurt me? Is it going to be the same way as it used to be? Or what the relationships I had before? Are they going to leave me? Are they going to leave me alone? Are they going to criticize me? Are they going to talk bad about me? You don't know. But allowing yourself to live in that tension, in the I don't know now or what that's going to look like later, but allowing yourself to be there, it will help you grow. It will help you find the meaningful relationships that will last a long time. And maybe you can do some journaling that can help you process and align your spiritual journey with your community that you experience. Maybe you can have just moments, again, go have coffee with someone, have a conversation of where you're at right now in your spiritual life. What does it look like for you week 2? What are you what are you battling? What are you having conflicts with in your mind and your heart that you can talk to someone today and sit down and kind of talk about those experiences and allowing yourself to contribute to other people's life, but as well at the other end, allow yourself to be open to be contributed to you, the wisdom that is necessary for your life. The fourth thing that we can do to build relationships and meaningful relationship is communicate and build relationships with intention. What are your intentions when you are diving into relationship? And the thing is, hurt happens when the intentions is turned to you only, when it's a self-reflected intention, right? When it's all about me. It's all about me. What are they going to do for me? What am I going to gain from this? If it's only about you, then yes, that relationship is going to get damaged. But when you think about what it means to reflect Jesus, right? The majority of Jesus's relationships and the majority of what Jesus did on the face of the earth, regardless of what pain he endured, regardless of the criticism and the things that were said against him, his heart was towards humanity, was all love. It was about, what can I serve? How can I serve humanity, right? He said, I didn't come to be served, I came to serve. And I think that reflects our heart posture when it comes to relationships. How are you serving in that relationship? Hear this. You need to practice open-hearted and compassionate communication. That's hard, right? It's hard to, we can get defensive about a lot of things. And I think that's the challenging part. That's what relationships challenges you with, is being able to open your heart and be compassionate with how you communicate things that maybe you're passionate about. Maybe you think you're right about it, but maybe it's not about being right. It's about serving that purpose at that moment and bringing healing into that moment. You got to listen deeply, and sharing thoughtfully can help foster spiritual connections in that relationship. Be open about your spiritual journey with trusted individuals in your church community, and transparency. Listen to me. Transparency often builds a sense of safety and deeper bonding. I know. You know what's funny in this social media time frame or society, everyone is completely transparent with their posts on social media. They will blast everything on Facebook. But when it comes to sitting face to face with someone, they refrain from saying anything and keeping their secrets to themselves. To me, that's mind-boggling. You can post everything on Facebook for everyone to read and comment under it and like it and not like it and share it and give them all your 2 cents and all your secrets. But when someone wants to keep you accountable and talk to you and help you with your journey, that's the least you're going to do. I think that's where you're going to build meaningful relationship. That's where your intention. What am I in here for? Am I willing to be honest about who I am? Am I willing to be honest about my struggle with the person that I trust as well as themselves, so that we can build each other up? So you've got to be transparent in the relationship. Pray this week. Say, God, please challenge my heart to be transparent of my relationships with others, and be transparent of the things that I'm struggling, so others can pray with me and can help me get through this and get stronger. Number 5, you have to prioritize relationships that nurture growth. You've got to prioritize relationships that nurture growth. Seek relationship within your church that challenge and uplift your spirituality. Surrounding yourself with people who encourage growth rather than judgment can make a significant difference. You've got to be able to separate yourself, set boundaries for relationships that are just there to hurt you, are not there to help you grow spiritually, and find those relationships within the church and be that person that provides spiritual growth as well, even for your family. You've got to be able to build that culture and be like, we're going to grow spiritually before anything else, and build that out so that you can see God do great things. You have to spend time with people who inspire you and be that source of inspiration for others. Spiritual growth often comes from a sense of mutual support and encouragement. You may you may be listening to this, or maybe you started praying this week and say, why are we praying for relationships? Why are we praying for church relationships? Why are we praying for outside relationships, family relationships? How does that affect me? How does that impact me? Well, it says it right here. Spiritual growth often comes from a sense of mutual support and encouragement. If you don't have solid relationships, if you don't put into relationship and grow a relationship, then you will eventually see it in your spiritual growth. If you hide, if you're a solitude person where you don't have any conversations and you're always in your mind, though, I always believe that your worst enemy is what's here in your mind. That's the first thing that tells you what's wrong. That's the first thing that's going to build this whole scenario of things going wrong. And once you're in that zone, it is very hard to get back out. You can't speak yourself out. It's hard to do that. You need other voices to encourage you and tell you, hey, I get it, but there's a different way to do this. The Bible says there's a different way that you can find growth and you can get out of that situation. So when you prioritize relationships that are going to help you grow, and I believe you can find those in the church. I believe that you can be that in your family, in your home as well. And that's what we want these 21 days of prayer for this week, to help you grow and connect with relationships that can help you in that growth as well. Number 6, create a sacred space at home. Having a dedicated space for reflection or prayer can help you feel more connected to your faith on a personal level. This also provides a quiet area where you can recharge and prepare yourself to engage with your community more meaningful. I love this because sometimes I think we're overly dependent on people in our lives. I think this is why we're praying this week. So you're intentionally in your house praying for how God can use you in the relationships you have in your life, right? So before you step out and become an impact or create relationships or enhance or help grow your relationships around you, you got to be intentional in praying and asking God, how can I be a blessing? How can I impact the relationships around me? How can I build and grow these relationships so that in turn they can do the same as well? So building that sacred space and asking that question. And I know it's hard because God's going to start pulling things out and you've got to confront him. But if God is allowing you to see those things, he wants you to be better for those around you, because we're not just called for ourselves, we're called for the world around us. Number 7, you got to set clear intentions for spiritual growth. Being clear about what you're hoping to experience and learning your spiritual journey can guide your interaction within your church community or relationship around you. And having a guiding purpose, such as finding peace, developing patience, or building community, can help you make choices that support these goals. You've got to know where you're going. Right? Where you're going. That's why we wanted to set a goal for our 21 days of prayer. That's why we want to set an idea of, hey, I'm making room. So what's the goal of your spiritual growth as you're having relationships now be part of your world? What is the goal? What are you looking for? What do you feel that God is calling you to? You got to set those goals so that you know that these relationships will benefit you and bless you and have been called by God to be a part of your life. And here's the final one. You got to stay open to new experiences and growth. Ooh, that's scary, right? Now you have to be open and stay open for new experiences and growth. That means remaining open to the new ways of worship, different perspectives, or various forms of fellowship that you can build diverse and meaningful connections. You've got to be open to. I know it's, for the introverts, you got to challenge them now to get close to the extroverts, and that just doesn't work. And be like, I'm an introvert. But sometimes I think we're called to be challenged from what we feel like we're at or who we are, so that we can see it differently, so that we can expand out and see that God has more than what we are so used to having. And the flexibility and the openness in how you approach spirituality can keep your practice fresh and your relationships vibrant. You got to get challenged. And that's what relationships bring. Challenging opportunities to grow spiritually and to be able to see God's hand move and bless you. So making room for spiritual and church relationships and family relationships can transform daily life, often enriching both personal growth and the strength of the community around you. It's a journey that with small but intentional steps can deepen a sense of purpose and connection. So I pray that this week, as you're praying for relationships in your life, again, your family, those outside of you, your church relationships, that you become a blessing for others, but as well as they become a blessing for you, and that you grow spiritually every day.